Sandy says read, and welcome to the channel. Today we are going to do a review and discussion of Who Wants to Marry a Cowboy by Abigail Sharp. Get that up there. See all the things, you guys. Who Wants to Marry a Cowboy by Abigail Sharp is a contemporary romance novel, and it actually has, I think, three. Yeah, there are three little romances going on in it. So we're going to talk about this. This is part of the new thing I have going on here. It's a new thing, The Thing. This is the Indie Book Spotlight for today, for this week, for whatever. You guys, I intended to have this book for you guys here for Valentine's Day. Yeah, what is today? Didn't get it for Valentine's Day. I purchased this book from Abigail's table at the Sunshine State Book Festival on February 1st. And then I read the book prior to Valentine's Day. And then I left town for a couple days for a business trip. And I just didn't get the review filmed for you guys because I failed. Because I failed you. And I'm so sorry. Yeah, here it is. We're doing it better late than never. And you know what? A romance novel is good to bring to you all at any time of the year. I want to invite you to grab yourselves a copy of the Sandy Says Read Bingo Baker card. I will put a link to this in the drop-down box below so that you too can generate your Bingo Baker card and play along as I talk about the book here today. This is not a prize-winning game. You're not going to win any prizes for this, but you do get the dopamine rush each time you get to check off one of these happy little phrases as I say the happy little phrases. All right? Now, as we go through this particular review, we are going to have some spoilers. I'm not sure how I can talk about each of the three romances and my thoughts on each of the three romances without giving away that there are three romances and they each end with a happily ever after. It's a romance novel, okay? But I'm not sure how to talk about these things and my thoughts without giving away things that happen in the book. So there's going to be spoilers throughout this thing. If you are interested in picking up this book and reading it without the spoilers, you might want to turn away from the video now, come back on another day, go grab this book for yourself, and then come back on another day. All right? So let me start with the specs, okay? So you at least know what we're getting into here. The specs are, this is Who Wants to Marry a Cowboy by Abigail Sharp. It is a love match book, book one in the love match book series. This one was copyrighted in 2013. So it's been a hot minute. I'm not giving away spoilers on a book that was published, last month. It's been a couple of years, right? 2013 to now. It's been a little while. The cover is by Alicia Evans. So that artwork, the illustrations, okay. Alicia Evans did that. The story is 253 pages, and then there's some back matter at the end. The back matter includes a scene from Who Wants to Marry a Doctor, which is the next book in the Love Match series. It is written in third-person point of view, past tense, which, that's my jam. I was pleased with that. And we do get the story from multiple persons' points of view. We do get to see things from Ainsley, our main character, Ainsley Fairfax. We get her point of view. Her sister, Cecilia Fairfax, we get her point of view. There's a dude named Edward. We get his point of view. There's a cowboy, hence the title. We get Riley. We get his point of view. So there's different points of view that come into play, and that's really good because we're not always the camera isn't always with Ainsley. So we do get to see other characters and how they're developing, the arcs that they are on, and how the story develops for them. Okay. So we do get that. But it's never, I don't think I ever got confused as to whose point of view I was in. I don't think it ever got confusing. All right. So don't worry about that. The points of view were always clear. It's just we got to see the story from different characters' viewpoints. All right. Let me read the back cover for you. That cover. Riley Palmer's sisters have a plan. Transform their struggling family ranch into a hot spot for love by hosting a bachelor-style competition. The catch? Riley is their reluctant star, forced to charm a herd of wannabe cowgirls for the sake of Crescent Ridge. He's the cowboy prize she didn't want. Ainsley Fairfax would never admit she's sneaking off to a bachelor-style competition to avoid her meddling mother, but she's totally sneaking off to a bachelor-style competition to avoid her meddling mother. Determined to avoid the spotlight and the coveted Cowboy prize, Ainsley plans to stay under the radar. However, when she and Riley cross paths, their instant chemistry is undeniable, and soon Ainsley finds herself more than willing to ride the range with him. As sparks fly and hearts entwine, Riley and Ainsley discover their connection runs deeper than a simple roll in the hay. But with husband hunters stampeding through the ranch, they must navigate the terrain of love and the fierce competition threatening to tear them apart. Okay, I do have a Sandy synopsis for you guys. Okay, I do have that. Let me pull that up on my computer screen because you guys know my printer, not just dead, but gone. I got rid of it. I sent it off to be recycled. So let me pull up the Sandy synopsis on the computer. Give me a minute. I'm going to read the Sandy synopsis from the screen. Two adult sisters, Ainsley and Cecilia, balk their controlling mother's plans by swapping vacation places. Cecilia goes on a cruise with Andrew, the gentleman she's in love with, to prevent Ainsley getting proposed to again. And Ainsley goes to a ranch where a gaggle of bachelorettes are competing for the cowboy Riley's attention. Now, in the Sandy synopsis, I'd say the cowboy Riley has too much baggage for Ainsley. She really doesn't need to be falling for this guy. He distrusts women and has been acting the player up until a couple months ago. He's too flaky and rude for me to root for him to get the girl at any point. We get a happy ending for a gal named Megan and the sister Cecilia. So, personally, I'd rather this romance novel broke the rules and let Ainsley be an empowered woman who goes off to Paris for her vacation. So let's get into it. We have Ainsley is sort of dating off on again this guy named Edward. They're more pals than lovers, okay? But Edward and Ainsley's mom believe that Ainsley and Edward will end up married. This is the mother's plan. The plan is that Ainsley and Edward will get married, and this will be a great, like financial union, right? This is the plan, but Ainsley wants no part of it. She's not in love with Edward. He's a friend. He's this guy that she grew up with. She doesn't want to marry him. She has a flower shop called Blooms, of course. She has a flower shop where she works, and she runs the place. She's got a manager that helps her run the place. She's happy doing that. She doesn't want to find some guy, settle down, and get married. That's not her goal. Okay. Now Cecilia, her sister, does love Edward. Cecilia has had a crush on Edward since day one when they were younger, whatever. She really does dig Edward, and she would love it if Edward were to turn his affections to her. And she thinks Edward does have a crush on her and just won't admit it to himself. She thinks that there probably was a spark, there's something there, but Edward has been told he's got to marry Ainsley, and he's on that path, and he is so structured and so rigid and so businesslike that he's not diverting from the path. He's not looking anywhere else. He's got blinders on for Ainsley and that path. Okay. So Cecilia would love it if she could take those blinders off and let him see, hey, I'm standing right here and I think you're in love with me. Let's make that happen. So as the book progresses, the idea of Cecilia stealing Edward works out. I have no problem with it because Ainsley has no problem with it. It works. It felt organic. It felt real. It felt okay. All right. So this plot line of Cecilia making a move on Edward and making that happen was okay. All right. It came to pass and it was okay. All right. So what happens is, kind of all over the place with this review. I'm so sorry, you guys. My notes are quite scattered. What comes to pass is Ainsley is supposed to go on a cruise with Edward where he will propose again for the umpteenth time. Okay. And this time, if Ainsley does not accept, her mother is going to foreclose on her business. What's happened is her mother has purchased the building where Blooms is located. And she's going to close the business down if Ainsley doesn't do as she's been told to do. And Ainsley's like, you've got to be kidding me. But you've got me over a barrel. What am I supposed to do now? I don't want to marry this guy. So she is complaining to Cecilia about it. And Cecilia is like, hey, I've got an idea. I'm booked on a vacation at this ranch at the same time that you're supposed to be on that cruise with Edward. Let's switch places. You go on this vacation on the ranch. I'll let them know that you're coming in my place, and I'll go on the cruise with Edward. No one will know what's happened until it's too late for anyone to do anything. It'll be great. And Ainsley's like, you would do that for me? And Cecilia's like, I would love to do that for you because I'm madly in love with Edward. And Ainsley's like, you go, girl. You got him. Go, go. God bless you. God be with you. Godspeed. And so this works out great. Ainsley she's not looking for a man. She doesn't care that there's some like weird bachelorette competition thing happening on this ranch. She's just going to go. She's going to have a nice time, have a nice vacation on a ranch with some horses. It'll be fine. And her sister is going to just try to win over Edward. And Ainsley is cool with it. And the reader is cool with it. We're cool with it. When we get to the ranch, lo and behold, Riley is kind of handsome. Well, that's an interesting twist, right? Well, Riley is handsome and all, but you guys, I'm telling you, Riley is, I never got used to Riley and his stupid, I never got used to Riley. Okay, let's just put it that way. I didn't trust him because he couldn't trust anyone else. He was a good brother to his family when he returned to the ranch, but he had been away from the ranch for, I don't know, I got the impression it's been a couple of years. But when his father passed away, he came back to the ranch. It's been like 4 months, and he's trying to hold things together at the ranch. He's trying to be a good brother to his sisters. I think there's 2 sisters and a brother. He's trying to be a good brother to these 3 there at the ranch. He's trying to keep things together. He's trying to keep the fences mended. He's trying to keep the sheep alive. Okay, he's trying to do things right. But I just get the impression that he's doing it because it's expected of him. He's doing it because it's his duty, it's his responsibility. I never got this full feeling that he cared about the sheep or the horses or the ranch. I mean, he was doing it because it was his duty. I got that impression. That's how I felt about Riley. And he hated the idea of these bachelorettes being thrown at him, which, I mean, come on, I would too. He hated the idea of these bachelorettes competing for his hand in marriage. He hated the idea of these women throwing themselves at him. He hated the idea of these women showing up and acting a part. Now, he has reason to hate that. His mother at one point in the past had left the ranch, had left their father, had left. And so he doesn't trust women. Okay, that distrust is carried throughout the book, the entire book. Everything Ainsley does is coated with this level of distrust from Riley. Everything she does, he sees as manipulative. Everything she does, he sees as, oh, she's just saying that because she's got an angle. She's just doing that because she has an angle. She's just here because she has an angle. Even when Edward, whom Ainsley doesn't want to marry, whom Ainsley has said, I don't want to marry, when he even shows up and Ainsley is pissed off about him showing up, even when that happens, Riley sees it as, oh, you're just being manipulative. Oh, you're lying. You really want to go marry him. It was so frustrating to watch this stupid cowboy refuse to believe, refuse to hear, refuse to see. It was frustrating to see a guy be that stupid. For how many pages was it? It was 253 pages. It was frustrating. I wished that at some point Ainsley would just say to him, you're not worth the trouble. I'm going home. And then go home. I was rooting for that to happen. Now we're going to Oreo cookie this. I mean, I talked at the beginning about, this Cecilia and Edward, and I believed in them, and I saw that happening. I was rooting for those kids. I'm going to Oreo cookie this, okay? I'm saying some things that sound frustrated because I was frustrated. I didn't enjoy Riley. I was frustrated with him. Now we're going to Oreo cookie it and talk about some good things again. Because there was another character in the book who I thought was wonderful, and her name was Megan. Megan was Ainsley's roommate at the ranch. Okay, I mentioned to you, there's these bachelorette style, what do they call them? Husband hunters? Is that what we call them back here? Husband hunters? Yeah, these bachelorettes have come to the ranch. They are each vying for Riley's attention. Each one of them wants to snag themselves this cowboy as their new husband, right? They want to be set for life here on this ranch. So they're paired up in cabins. Each of them is paired up in cabins, and they are backstabbing bitches. These women are awful. They tell lies about Ainsley. When it looks like Riley likes Ainsley, they lie about her. They make stuff up. They say stuff about, well, Edward is actually her fiance, and Edward is showing up here because he's coming to claim her. They're saying things like this, and Riley's believing it. He's not understanding, oh, hey, they might be lying because they're trying to win me over instead of her. I mean, he's not seeing this because he's an idiot. Anyway, these women are all paired up in their cabins. Well, luckily, Ainsley is paired up with Megan, and she's this lovely young lady. She's a wonderful gal. She's a good friend. She's nice. She's pleasant. And she and Ainsley get along really well. And they chit chat and they talk about stuff. Megan she's genuinely interested in the stuff happening at the ranch. She likes Riley at first, but she really likes this ranch hand named Cookie. And I got the impression that Cookie was an older ranch hand, sort of a fatherly figure there at the ranch. I got that impression. So it might be a little bit of a May-December romance, which is fine, works out fine. And he's this he's a quieter individual. Like, he doesn't speak his mind that much. So Megan has to really work to get him to say what he thinks or say what he feels, right? But their romance blossoms, and it's wonderful. I loved that. That was really sweet. That was wonderful. And Megan's genuine interest and genuine caring about the stuff happening at the ranch shows through, because one of the horses has a baby, and Megan is interested in this, and she goes to see this happen, and she wants to make sure everything is okay, and she checks up on the foal the next day. I mean, she's interested in what's going on, and she's interested in the work that Cookie is doing. Okay, she's genuinely interested, and she's more interested in Cookie than Riley. So there's not that tension and there's not that conflict for Ainsley and Megan, and there wouldn't have been anyway, because Ainsley wasn't coming to this. She wasn't coming to this ranch. She wasn't coming to this whole competition wanting the cowboy. And Megan, when she got there, originally, yeah, she was interested in the cowboy, but then instantly, no, she was interested in Cookie. So these two gals, they become fast friends, and they're interested in helping one another just get through this week of being there. They're interested in helping one another just navigate the mayhem and the chaos. It's very nice. I liked their friendship. And I really liked that that Abigail gave them that friendship and gave them that almost instant connection. I liked having those girlfriends there, taking care of each other, watching out for each other. That was very nice. I just wish that Riley wasn't even in the picture. I didn't like him. There were these girls who were being so, just catty and bitchy. And I didn't like that influencing Riley. It seemed to me like he should be grown up enough. He should be adult enough to see through the crap and the mayhem and the stupidity. He should have been able to see through the silliness that they were throwing at him. He should have been able to see through that. There was one gal, and I don't remember her name now, but there was one gal in the group who had an ex-boyfriend back home who came to the ranch mid-book. And he's like, hey, I can't believe you left me to come here and do this. I love you. I want you to come back home with me. And Riley sort of pushes her to him, kind of pushes this extra bachelorette to this old boyfriend and says, here, why don't you guys work something out? Why don't you just talk to each other? And they do talk to each other, and she ends up going back home with her ex-boyfriend. Love is in the air. So they go off. And so when Edward shows up saying to Ainsley, oh, I love you. We were supposed to get married. Your sister came on to me and I didn't take the bait. Riley is like, oh, well, here's another ex-boyfriend showing up, and you should probably go with him. And Ainsley's like, I keep telling you, no, these people that are calling me my mother, this Edward, I don't want to be with Edward. I sent my sister off with him for a reason. They're supposed to be together. And Riley's just not listening, but he's seeing, oh, hey, this other guy came and took one of the girls away. Edward is here. He's going to take you away, right? And she's like, no, 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 no. I keep telling you, no, that is not going to happen. And Riley won't listen. It kind of comes to a head. I became frustrated with them. I was frustrated with them throughout, but it came to a head on page 198. Right? Is that where we are? Yes. This is an example of the distrust that Riley can't let go of. We are at like the big event, like the final rose event, right? Of this, the final event. There's a big party going on. Ainsley's mother and Edward have shown up. They're there. They're trying to take her away. And she's like, I don't want to go with you people. I am here. I'm giving myself to Riley. I want to stay with him. And Riley is deciding, okay, she's pretty cool. I think I'm going to choose her out of the bachelorettes that are left and ask her to stay here on the ranch with me. I'm going to do that. And so this is the night of the party, and he's going to ask her to stay. But he sees that Edward has come up to her and is showing her a little box. Well, Edward is showing her a little box with a ring in it that he's going to give to Cecilia. And Ansela's like, that is great. I'm so glad that you're going to ask Cecilia to marry you. And Riley sees this from like across the barn, the barn dance floor. He sees this. So he's pissed. And when she finally gets close to him, because, there's still women vying for his attention. When she finally gets close to him, let's see. She says, why don't you actually listen to me, Riley? She touched her heart in a pathetic attempt to convey earnestness, the rest of her stiff and straight. This is my life, not my mother's, not Jewel's, and not Edward's. She took a single step forward, filling his space with vanilla, while her hands gripped the lapels of his black shirt. Glancing up at him through her lashes, she softened her voice, the tendrils of seduction capturing his attention. I thought I might be spending more of it with you. He struggled to keep his arms from wrapping around her body, to pull her close and kiss her soft lips until they were both breathless with wanting. Instead, he stepped out of her target range of charm, and her hands fell to her sides. Puts you at odds with your plans for Mr. Accountant. Hands on his hips, he glared down at her and cursed himself. She had consumed him with how deceitful she had been and how innocent she had appeared, and his resentment had been stirring. She wasn't going to kiss her way out of it this time. She brought a hand up to massage her temples, her golden hair spilling over her shoulders and framing her face, invoking a small stirring in his gut, which he quickly clamped down. Go ahead, say what it is you believe. Her low voice held no inflection of emotion. Our time together was special to me, Ainsley. I put aside my ranch. I hid from my family, all in order to be with you. You filled an emptiness in my chest that I tried to deny, and when I was finally ready to accept it, your fiancé comes with the truth. He slammed his fist into the tree, and she flinched and backed away from him. The truth that everyone else tried to tell me. Did you ever think that maybe these women saw how you were looking at me and decided to take matters into their own hands? Or maybe I had the same emptiness and the same doubts? She asked with an eerie calmness. You can't give it up, can you? Riley grabbed her naked left hand, his rough fingers scraping against her knuckle as she tried to jerk it away. Where's the ring he gave you? Are you kidding me? Is that what this is about? It was for my sister, you stupid cowboy. You know, the one I've been telling you about, the one Edward's really in love with, her. An icy chill took over his skin and filtered to his brain, and he stayed silent while his brain warred with his heart. She was probably telling the truth. He could end his pain and bring her into his life. Ainsley bit her lip, looking up at him with hope, smoothing the anger from her face. Riley? But that would only invite more pain. See, and there it is, the obnoxiousness. He's almost going to believe that she's telling him the truth. He's almost going to believe, okay, the fact that the ring's not on her finger, and okay, so maybe Edward really is giving a ring to her sister, like she's been saying all along. And he pushes her away. No. So he would end it now. I want you gone. And so, yeah. So they break up. In that moment, they break up. But it's a romance novel, so there is, well, what you might consider a happy ending. I really wish that Ainsley had just stayed away from him. But see, what happens is Megan is marrying Cookie, and Megan is her friend. So when Megan marries Cookie, she invites Ainsley to come back and be there for the wedding. And Ainsley is like, hey, I've got this flower shop called Blooms. I will do the flowers for you. And Megan's like, that's an awesome gesture. Thank you. Of course. So Ainsley does come back a couple weeks later and she brings all the flowers. And Riley, being the prick idiot that he is like, I don't think you own a flower shop. I think that's all made up too. So when she shows up with the flowers, he's like, oh, well, that's odd. You really do have flowers? He's just an idiot. They do end up together, which I think is a mistake. I think it's a big mistake. There's so much in this book that is about jealousy. I mean, there's jealousy when Edward and Cecilia are together. I mean, Edward and Cecilia are like this little love story. Cecilia works hard to get him to notice her and to get him to realize, hey, I do love you, Cecilia. The thing with Ainsley is just business. It's just financial. It's what everyone has told us we should be doing. The Cecilia, I love you, so I want to marry you, and yes, I'm going to marry you. And they do get together, and it's like, oh, you figured it out, Edward. Good for you. And yay, Cecilia, you've got the man you want. But there's this moment when someone from Cecilia's like high school days or early college days or whatever comes to the house, and her mother's house, and he's there for dinner, and they're all having a chat. And Edward's like insanely jealous because this guy that Cecilia knew 2 or 3 years ago is in the house, and they're having a conversation that Edward doesn't understand. Edward's not in on the in-joke in the conversation. So Edward's like, oh, okay, so you probably like that guy more than me. I'm going to leave now. Oh, it's that kind of stupid jealousy that happens throughout this book. These characters are so insecure and so jealous that I'm like, what's happening? Why are these men so insecure? Edward figures it out. Cecilia won't let him be a twat. She goes to his house and she's like, why did you leave dinner? What's wrong with you? Don't you understand that people have other relationships in their past? People can have conversations and it'll be okay. And Edward's like, oh, okay, but you still love me? Yes. Oh, great. Let's get married. So they work it out. Cecilia won't let him be a complete twat waffle. She works it out with him. Riley, I don't understand why Ainsley lets him be a twat waffle and lets him get away with it, but they end up together. Cookie and Megan were wonderful. Those two, they got it. They got it. They understand. It's all great. So the Oreo cookie of this was, what was it? Cecilia and Edward did get their happily ever after, and Cecilia, she made him understand and made him own his own heart. And then Ainsley and Riley were weird. Those two cats, I don't know. But Megan and Cookie were wonderful. That was fantastic. That was great. Megan and Cookie, yeah. The Oreo cookie concept of this book review is, I mean, Abigail did a very nice job of making the reader feel emotions. I mean, some of the bachelorettes who were there on the ranch to compete for Riley's attention, I wanted to stab most of them, okay? And for the author to make the reader feel that kind of emotion is exemplary, okay? Obviously, Abigail did a very good job of writing those characters and making me want to stab them with something sharp. Yeah, she did a good job of that. The way she portrayed Edward as this, brusque little accountant who was going to make Ainsley marry him no matter what, to turn him from that into the character whom I wanted to be with Cecilia, to make him become, to go on that arc of the character who I was rooting for with Cecilia. That took a lot of effort on Abigail's part, I'm going to say. I mean, that is exemplary. Okay, so the writing style, that I would have to say is on the good. Okay, for this Oreo cookie. Now, in the middle of the Oreo cookie were Ainsley and Riley. I'm telling you, I didn't care for Riley. And I wish that Abigail had just told him, go suck an egg. I'm sick of trying with you. I don't want to be with you. Screw you and your manipulation of my heart. Done with you. I wish that she would have just said to him there in the end, okay, look, it was great knowing you, but goodbye. Good luck. Yeah, I wish she would have just left him. Then it wouldn't be quite the romance novel. I know, I understand there's a formula you got to follow, but that's where that is. I just didn't. I just didn't. I just didn't. But then, to finish out our Oreo cookie, more of the good that happened was, okay, we did get happily ever after with Ainsley and Riley, but we also got happily ever after with Edward and Cecilia. We also got happily ever after with Megan and Cookie. And Megan and Cookie, they were the couple that made me smile. They were the couple that made me happy. I mean, when those two were, it was announced in the book that those two are together, I was like, that's really nice. That's really good. Megan deserves a happy thing. She deserves to have Cookie, who is this good, upstanding guy on the ranch. That is wonderful. I was very pleased with that. Okay. All right, you guys. Thumbs up for the Oreo cookie of Who Wants to Marry a Cowboy? Oreo cookie in it. And you guys, thank you so much for tuning in.